get to look at the vexed matters that we have to discuss this morning. And my guest from my extreme right is Abdul Malik Kwekubako, Editor-in-Chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper. He's a regular panelist, and as always, here with his dossier, plenty documents. Also here,
being challenged.
today he's being challenged by Muntaka Mubarak. Now, also here is John Abdullahi Jinapo. He's MP, Yape Kusogu, and former Deputy Power Minister. I used to say he was the de facto Power Minister. For a long time, he was in that ministry alone, and yet was referred to as a Deputy Minister. He never had a minister for a long time.
Well, I had a minister.
For a long time. Also in the studio, and to my left, from the extreme, is Hassan Tampuli. He is Chief Executive of the National Petroleum Authority, NPA. And also here is Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak. He is the Member of Parliament for Asawase and the Minority Chief Whip. Good morning, gentlemen, and welcome to Newsfile. Right. Would be your very first time on Newsfile, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And also Hassan.
That's right.
Right. Okay.
Well.
Right. Thank you very much for making time to spend your weekend with us and to help us discuss matters of national interest. Now, of course, we can start without me asking you to spare just a word, to the family and friends of those who lost their lives in that needless carnage, I call it. That was 2 nights ago, right? Okay, so who do I start with? I think I will start with Hassan Tampuli. The work you do sometimes impinges on the road as well. What do you have to say about what has happened? I've already shared what my opinion is. The law in Section 22 of the Road Traffic Act is that you don't leave things on the road or over the road or walkways that interfere with safety and movement. From what we're being told now, obviously, there was a heap of sand that was left and they attempted to swerve. And this is what led to the accident. And we're being told that that place has been the spot of many accidents. Just a day after the accident that killed Ebony and her friends, another accident happened there. Yes.
Wow. Well, thank you very much, and good morning to the viewers and listeners alike. So I see the education that you just gave to us on your take. It's a very important element of the program, and I wish that you do that almost all the time. And then you not only educate the general public, but you even educate the police. Because I've had some run-ins with a police officer for turning right on red, and he didn't know that it was in the law.
Okay.
I showed it to him. This one is in the road traffic regulations. He just argued with me, took me all the way to his commander, and the commander told him, but the thing is in the law.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think this education is very, very good. It's very, very essential for us to be able to stay alive. It goes for everybody. To the main point itself, I think it's a very sad loss as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
I got to know about Ebony sometime in June, July last year. Sitting in a vehicle, somebody was bearing music, and then I said, but who is this? And I just paid attention to the lyrics. But this is a very imaginative artist. The way she could play around with words and, come out very nicely, and sometimes even cast innuendos, and you even enjoy the lyrics without even paying attention to what she's saying. But so I'm very, very sad. So I became an ardent fan of Ebony. And so when the news of her passing, broke, I received quite a number of text messages from family and friends saying, oh, your friend is gone. Yeah. So really, and I was also fascinated by her story because I found out later on she was only 21. I asked her, which school is she attending? And I was told she had dropped out of school.
Yes.
So and so I was of the view that, she should have just continued and she would have been a marvelous person.
In a case we are told it was a choice. she decided that she wanted to get out because that was the time that she felt she was ready to launch her career.
That's right. So Ebony became a personal matter for me. I paid attention to her career, and because I have daughters as well.
Okay.
And so the way that I saw her evolve, you know, could impact the way that I relate with my daughters. So if my daughter says, look, I want to do music, I don't want to go to school anymore, how was I going to react to it? And also the controversy about her dress code, I really thought that, look, as for dress code, it's a matter of personal choice. And her father came out to say that, look, I support my daughter in whatever she does. Then again, as a parent, I say, look, if my daughter chooses to dress this way and the general public is bashing her, what do I do? So Ebony was like a moving target for me. I was just watching her every step of the way until an unfortunate person. May her soul rest in peace.
Right.
She
died along with a soldier and one other lady, we understand. Right. Okay.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Yes. You in Parliament also have been advocating. I think I've heard you about road matters for a while. Yeah, at a certain point. So what do we do? Because we know that these are avoidable accidents that we're having.
Well, let me say that it was a shock. Yesterday in the morning, when I was just preparing to leave for Parliament, my wife had just returned from dropping the kids in school. She said, oh, have we heard this? I said, wow, what is it about? Well, apparently, I must admit, I'm not a music fan, so I was not following on these things. But to know that someone with so much talent dying at 2021 is really a shock. I mean, I can't imagine the pain her parents, her family, her friends will be going through, and we'll sympathize with them. And I think that it's a loss to our entertainment industry. If at 2021 she was already well known in the entertainment industry, you could have imagined if she continued to 40 and 50s, she could have been maybe one of the greatest we could have been, if not in Africa, maybe the whole of the world. So to have lost such
along the lines of what the president said in his State of the Nation address, he said it could take a Hugh Masekela or just one creative arts person to bring the nation the fame that it deserves.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, so I think that it's a big loss to our country, but we must just do something. I've had an accident before. I think 2010 or something. Early in the morning, I was just driving from Kumasi. We had gone for the Salak festivities, so my driver has taken the family ahead because of school. So I was coming 2-3 days later. So I was driving myself. All of a sudden, you just see this Kia crossing from one end of the road to the other, without really watching. And all I could just see driving at about 90, 100. Then this is it. And then trying to swerve, just went into the ditch. So I can really imagine obstacles, what it does on the road for, drivers. And to say that as a country, we need to wake up because we seem to be talking too much and acting very little. And I always say that too much of effort without results is useless. Because if you have the police, MTTU, that are supposed to be on the highway, now the police have several units, depending on which region you are, the names they call them, that are supposed to patrol the road. Yet they do not have the logistics to be able to say if somebody has put anything on the road, to either tow it or to get it off the road. It's a big worry because then they can see it. If it's an articulated truck, what do you do? It's not something that they can easily pull away. If, like they said, this sand, it's not that you expect the police to take their uniform out and get some shovels and pickers to start clearing. I think that we need to equip the state agencies so that in matters of this, they'll be able to clear the road. But it's a very sad loss, and we hope that whatever is there is cleared as quick as possible before we get another accident happening there.
And talking about tooling the police, in the course of this discussion, we'll get to a point there where the government says that it has made some savings from the luxury presidential fleet that was supposed to be acquired had been ordered by the Mahama administration. And you know what they have done? They have reduced the number and managed to also secure about 100 vehicles for the police out of that. We'll find out what actually went into that. Now, you see, your colleague refers to the accident. He nearly had a similar, had one. And on this table, you can find that a number of us may even point to the fact that we may have an experience that we can point to the fact that we are not at fault. In April last year, of course, I, nearly lost my life on the motorway because there was this hole at one point of the motorway. Somebody was driving at a certain speed and hit that pothole and then bust his tire. And I'm sure people know about what happened in that situation. He died instantly, and my vehicle completely, condemned, written off. So our roads also are part of the situation, isn't it?
Certainly, certainly. First of all, let me wish not just the lady, but the other families of the two. It would appear that because she is quite famous and popular, there's a lot of attention on her. But
I understand you had a special moment with her.
Yes, I met her at a radio station. She was quite affable. We even exchanged contacts, but because of our busy schedule, we never had the opportunity of meeting. And I liked her enthusiasm. She was very friendly, very affable. And I had a view that she had a very, very bright career and a very good future. Because she became so popular all of a sudden, and she kept rising and rising. But something comes to the fore. Listening to you, I'm convinced that that accident was avoidable. But for that heap of sand, I'm convinced that that accident wouldn't have occurred, even if something would have occurred, not that very accident.
You are being told it is for the purpose of repairing that road.
Yes, but then where are the roadmans? Where do you heap the sand? How long was the sand heaped there? These are issues that in other jurisdictions, a lot of inquiry will go into this.
Right.
And it will serve as a basis for corrective measures. It also tells me that as a country, even though we've come this far, there's a lot for us to do. In most countries, interstate or intercity roads are dual. And so the issue of head-on collision hardly occurs. Because once the road is dual, like the motorway, I had an accident on the motorway, a very terrible one. And the only thing that could happen is that I veered off the road.
Okay.
But to have a head-on collision with a vehicle was a virtual no, because then meant that I'll go into the ditch. And so these are issues that comes to the fore. And I think that probably a lot of people might have even died there. It's probably because
we are
she
told
is
that
famous.
It's been a sport where a lot of
because she is
accidents have
famous,
happened.
it's
Yeah.
come to the fore. For
Right.
all you know, several accidents might have occurred preceding this one. And so I hope that this should be a wake-up call for us. In most jurisdictions, when this happens, it wakes the nation up. And sometimes Parliament even takes that and passes laws in memory of some of these incidents. So I hope that leadership will also take that up. And then, but I can only wish the family my condolences. It's happened already.
Right.
There's nothing much we can do in terms of their lives.
Okay.
There's a lot more we can do in terms of preventing future occurrences.
Right.
That's what I can say.
Yes, and we also do have some responsibilities, don't we?
Yeah.
To be careful on the road ourselves. Also driving at night. Same last year when we were going to Sunyani for the bar conference, for example. I got to Kumasi in the evening. I decided that, okay, let me pass the night in Kumasi. Then I moved the next morning because I am aware that road is not the best. So that's what I did. I didn't want to move in the night because I didn't like that. So Kweku, we also have some responsibility to be sure that we help to protect ourselves.
I agree. The bad roads or poorly constructed roads or maintained roads, and then the human element ourselves, the lack of discipline or sometimes appropriate thinking, or the combination of the two. I agree. But somebody is dead or some people are dead.
Right.
And at this very material moment, all I can do is to express my condolences to the family. She's gone too early, just too early. A huge potential that could easily have developed into some phenomenon of global proportions, like Muntaka was saying. So we can only wish the family well, the families, bereaved families in this case, well. Subsequently, we can come and interrogate the other aspects.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We wish those who died, we wish them a perfect, as it were, journey, and wish their families well as well. Now, I'm only also hoping that something will happen, because somebody put that sun there, and if in fact it is that which caused these deaths, somebody should be answering the questions that ought to be answered, because the law says you don't do what we find on that road. Now, on the first issue that we have to look at, let's hear from those who had been on the street in the course of the week to protest the fuel price hikes and the minority joining them and supporting that the current prices are unjustified. Then we'll come to the studio, and thankfully we have the MPA boss here in the studio and the former power minister in the studio, so we should have a very qualitative discussion.
I like that.
Let's listen to those who went to protest in the course of the week.
The more international prices go up, the more you realize that the taxes are also increasing. One of the taxes called special petroleum tax, which we have had on several occasions to complain about. When international market prices or ex-refinery price goes up, then SPT also goes up. And so there's a double dose, of punishment to our pockets each time world market prices go up. Why would the MPA not talk about the taxes? It cleverly dodged that aspect, and that is the only reason.
Why are you also not talking about the price stabilization interventions?
It has not done enough. Yesterday, prices went up. And so if the NPA's intervention is doing anything positive, we should feel it at the pumps.
But you're saying that prices went up at the pumps yesterday, but the argument has also been that not all the OMCs, the oil marketing companies, have increased prices, at the pumps. I mean, in fact, there are some of them who have not increased prices at all.
That is one of the excuses they use. Every now and then when fuel prices go up, they will tell you not everybody. But generally, if it has gone up across the major OMCs, where over 80% of Ghanaians are buying their products, and you tell Ghanaians it is not gone up, then you are being disingenuous. They should be truthful to the facts on the ground. That is the only time they may be able to look at the solutions we are proffering. We want some of the taxes to come down immediately. It is the only way we would see fuel prices either stabilize or drop. But at current tax levels of over 88% percentage on ex-refinery price, what we are seeing is that the phenomenon will continue even into February, into March, into April. And we are saying that enough is enough.
I believe that COPEC and ICU and others are in the right course, because government has taken us for granted for long. We in the minority have called government to reduce these fuel prices, because taxes alone constitute 49 to 50% of the product, which government has control over. And some of the taxes, as prices inches up, the purpose for which they were introduced are now irrelevant and need to be scrapped. And a very good example is the special petroleum tax. The NDC government introduced it because the fuel prices has dropped as low as $28 per barrel. And government needed to fill in the gap, and as such, the special petroleum tax was introduced. Even then, the current vice president criticized government for introducing that special petroleum tax and promised that when they come, they will scrap it. Now, petroleum prices are above 60%. So the purpose for taking money from Ghanaians in respect of special petroleum tax is no more relevant, and want to urge government to take it off, because prices are inching up. If you take the budget, even our revenue that we expected, the average was $57 per barrel. Today it's over 60. That means we are even making more surplus from the sale of our crudes with over 6.
And so you heard Duncan Amwa, who is the convener of that demonstration or protest, because he's also the head of the Petroleum Consumers Association. Is it right? Now they have their support, and you heard Mutawakilu, who is the minority spokesperson on these matters, and they have support from Dr. Charles Rekubrobe. Dr. Charles Rekubrobe also believes that the tax component, something can be done about it, particularly the special petroleum tax, which government reduced, took is it 2.5 out of it, and as we have it now, it is 15%. Used to be 17.5. That, they say, is not enough. Now, those who hit the streets, one of them said this, that I expect everything to be normal. At least, if the prices wouldn't even go down, it should be at where it was when the government took power. But now, from 14.40 pesos to 21 cedis plus is too much. Starting with you, the NPA boss, on this note of the real facts and the politics that is being mixed with the whole thing that you can't avoid. And someone reminds us, starting with a text message, even before we start with the discussion, that when we had fuel price increments in May 2015, this was what Dr. Bawumia said, quote, I feel really sad this morning. The hardworking people who have to endure the insensitive decision to increase fuel prices at this time, unquote. So what are we saying today?
Thank you very much, Samson. We at NPA, and for that matter, government, would agree that indeed there has been increase in the price of petroleum products. That there's no doubt about that. But that, we have said, is attributable largely to the prices on the international markets.
Which has always been the case.
As at 1st January 2016, petroleum price per metric ton was 418.94. 1st January 2016. Today is 669.16. That's almost about 50% increase. That's about $250 increase. You want the figures again?
International market price.
International market price.
You want to ask him a question? Can you ask it? Don't speak to yourself. Ask the question.
That's for petrol.
Wait, let's hear. Let's
But you should allow me
the
to.
public wants to hear it. Ask the
No, he mentioned some figures, and I was asking where is it at the international market price?
International market, yes.
So that we can
Yeah,
all
I said
follow
so.
me.
I said
so.
I said
Okay,
so,
go
yeah.
ahead.
So these are the international dynamics that we see. So, and if you look at it, as at 1st January 2017, the price was 531.03 metric tons as far as the dollar is concerned. And then if you look at today, 669. So clearly the increase in the price of petroleum products can be attributable to the international dynamics that we face. Taxes on the petroleum prices have not seen any increment since January 2017. And those are the things that government has control over. Indeed, there has been a complete abolishment of the excise tax in March 2017 when the finance minister read the budget. And there was also a reduction of the special petroleum tax from 17.5% to 15%. And the cumulative effect of these abolishment and then the reduction is that the price that we are paying today would have been at least 3% more, but for these interventions. Now, the second intervention that government has had to make is that since September to date, the international prices have moved 30%, September 2017 up to date. 30% increase. Now, government, by way of the special price stabilization and recovery levy, made some intervention by reducing in order to be able to stabilize the price at the pump at the time that we had it. So the international dynamics would not allow us, even when we were charging zero of the price stabilization and recovery levy. 12 pesos on petrol, 10 pesos on diesel. And that notwithstanding, the increase on the international front has completely obliterated those interventions. So I think that my good friend, Honorable Mutawakilu, and then my friend Dankanamwa ought to have acknowledged that the interventions have been made. And even when we reduced the price stabilization and recovery levy, we made those interventions. My good friend here, John, Honorable John Jinapo, questioned government on why we reduced the price stabilization and recovery levy. He raised issues. Same with the Honorable Mutawakilu. So it's not as if government is not doing anything. Government is doing a lot. And a very important indicator in the price build-up is the exchange rate, which has been largely stabilized. We've seen just about 3%, depreciation, the CD to the dollar. And that's highly remarkable. Now, but for that also, we would have seen some, steady increase. Now, under the deregulation policy,
the major contention of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC, as you heard Dankanamwa say, and which position, very knowledgeable people in this area like Dr. Charles Rekobrobe support, is that the 15% that you are still keeping as a special petroleum tax is unwarranted, because the history is that petroleum prices had gone down so much that the NDC government felt there was a need to bring that in. And so the purpose was that it should help cushion the situation for a while. And when the prices had, stabilized somewhat, then they would remove it. In fact, when the NPP described this as a nuisance tax, until they won power, the expectation was that they were going to completely remove it. They are saying, remove that. If you remove that, which is 15% on the price buildup, if you remove that, we should see a lot more, relief.
To some extent, I find that position by the minority very, very mischievous, because this special petroleum tax came into being in 2014, when prices, as they say, were lower, about $32 per barrel. Now, by December 2016, they didn't find the need to remove the special petroleum tax because the price had gone up on the international markets. Why didn't they remove the special petroleum tax?
As the NPP insisted then.
We did not insist that we should remove it. And you see, I think that we must do this discussion in context. In May 2015, when the Vice President spoke about the special petroleum tax, then government still had a role to play in determining the price of petroleum products. Until July 2015, when deregulation kicked in, government left determination of prices to the forces of demand and supply and the exchange rates. So as at this time, government had something to do with the determination of prices. Post-July 2015, government didn't have any role to play, but to just, intervene by way of this fiscal regime. Price stabilization and recovery levy, special petroleum tax, excise duties. There are other things that are in the price.
No, their emphasis is on the tax element, which is a government, levy introduced on it. So, which is something government can do something about.
Government has done.
That is why it has removed 2.5% from it.
Government has done something about it. I think one key point that we all agree on, and which in the coming days we'll see some action, is that instead of making the price, the special petroleum tax, a percentage of ex-depot, we rather should make it a specific amount so that it does not compound any future increases in the prices. It also helps governments to stabilize revenue when the prices keep going down, because once it's a percentage, when the price goes down, our revenue targets may not be met. So that suggestion is in good order, and we've been doing this for some time. The timing is what we are looking at. as at yesterday, 3 days ago, we've been having these meetings about determining when to do it. So it's something that government, in principle, has agreed to do. We don't need the demonstration to even let us know that this is what we have to do.
Okay, they gave a week's ultimatum to government.
Oh, they don't need to
remove that tax.
As a matter of fact, as we speak today, as at yesterday, the price of petrol have been going down on the international markets by about 2.6%.
Okay.
And then the price of diesel have been going down by about 3.83%. LPG has seen the biggest decline, 9.95%. So by the next pricing window, who knows? And this is what we have been saying. These are determined by the forces of demand and supply on the international market. There has been some time that we have sustained decline in the price on the international market. It was passed on to the consumer. And this happened between 16th April to sometime in the end of July. There has been sustained reduction in the price at the pump. You understand? And those were attributable
to which year?
2017.
Right.
And these are attributable to the forces of demand and supply on the international market. So when the prices go up, it's passed on. That's the essence of deregulation.
And that's supposed to be unlike the behavior of the previous administration, where there was a windfall and yet was never passed on to the consumer.
When there was a reduction, they fixed some tax there and then increased the price. That's what they did in 2014. When the reduction was coming, they put a special petroleum tax there and then took the benefits. And it's a manifesto commitment.
I think some people actually went to court about this.
Yes, it's a manifesto commitment. So when we say that when the prices decline, consumers will feel it at the pump, we mean it, and it has been happening. When the prices went down, they found a way of, jacking it up so that the consumers will not have the benefit of the deregulation.
So what you're saying is that now we are in a regime where government is not in the picture at all as far as the pricing regime is concerned.
Not at all. And that's one reason why government will not be accumulating huge bills on under recoveries, because you don't subsidize anything anymore.
Okay.
You understand? And when we float this bond, this ESLA bond, one of the reasons why it's being done is that never again shall government intervene and accumulate huge debts that's crippling the petroleum sector. So going forward, everything that comes in, consumers will benefit when there's a reduction, and when there's an increase, it will again be passed to the pump. The only intervention that government is able to make, like I said, is the fiscal regime. We will move the taxes here and there. Even where you place the special petroleum tax can make a difference.
Okay.
When you move it from ex-depot to ex-refinery,
is there any expectation that anything will happen to the taxes?
Oh, this is a listening
anything
government.
further will happen?
You have a listening government. You should expect that this will be done. You have a listening government. We've been dealing with this thing for quite some time now. Expect something to happen in the coming days.
In the coming days?
In the coming days.
Okay.
Yes,
John.
Yeah, first of all, let me discount this fact that government has no hand in the price determination. It's not true. If government is imposed taxes on the ex-refinery price, and the final consumer ought to pay Y amount because X taxes has been added to a certain product, you can't tell us that government has no hand. The taxes are imposed by government. The price stabilization levy, the energy recovery levy, the special tax and all that, those are taxes imposed by government. So please, don't let us create the impression that government has no hand. There's an energy debt recovery levy. There's a road fund levy. There's an energy fund levy. There's a special petroleum tax levy. There's a price stabilization and recovery levy. And then MPA then comes to add primary distribution margin, fuel market margin, fuel tracking margin, distribution compensation and promotion margin, UPPF, that's the uniform. All these are part of the price builder. And you say that the price is determined just by the international market. That cannot be the case. That is number one.
Yeah,
number two,
but these are not new introductions, right?
New.
Wait, I'm coming there.
For decades.
I'm coming
right.
I'm very happy I made it today. I nearly missed it. Somebody sent a message, and I was expecting my brother. The person says that he used to buy, and you read it, fuel at 14.4. Today he says it's 21. When you do the arithmetic,
this guy was one of those who were demonstrating.
That is a 45% jump. 45, almost 50%. He says from 1st
from
January
2013.
2017. That's what he said.
That's not true. That
Well,
cannot be true.
I'm saying that's what he says.
That
I've
cannot
only
be
done
true.
the computation. And I'm telling you that from 14.4 to 21, the arithmetic is simply b minus a divided by a times 100. And when you do that, you come to 45%.
This is the
Now,
price.
can I make...
Okay,
As at
can we do,
January-
do something briefly? Wait.
Based on facts.
Let's do this briefly. And again, let's know that those who are protesting are mostly drivers. Okay, so you're saying that this driver is wrong when he says that since the government took over the reins of government, the prices used to be at the pumps. Petrol was 14 Ghana cedis, 40 pesos, and now it is over 21 Ghana cedis. You're saying this is not correct?
This is incorrect.
Okay.
As of January 2016, January, the pricing window, January to 16th January, 1st to 16th January 2016, was 3.97.
X-pump.
At the
X-pump. At the pump.
Okay.
3.976.
3.976. Today is 4.623.
Let him say it.
So
in
this
Gallons
about
so that they
this
can
about
relate it better.
You see, he's speaking
Now
in
do the computation.
in-
this
yes.
about
I'll do the computation.
Mutaka is drawing your attention to
Do it in
something.
gallons so that they
Right,
can
because that's what
relate to you better.
the driver was
Ordinarily,
doing.
there's- yeah, and you see that you are there. The same,
I
the
can
same
do
figure
the
that guy is
computation.
but like I said, maybe the driver is not telling
Don't
us
worry,
something.
Thank you.
I'll do the
John will
computation.
continue.
But
So
you
let
see-
me move on.
but you see,
Now,
I think that, you see, when you raise issues in the price buildup, you have to be very fair to the facts.
Okay, so wait.
I
Let
think
him
we have
finish.
to-
Let him
very
finish.
well, very
You react. Go ahead.
you see, for me, this thing comes in two fronts. I'm a politician. That is number one. And I won't deny the fact that I'm a politician. But more importantly, I'm a Ghanaian. So I'm looking at it from the political point and from a point as a patriotic Ghanaian. I am in government. I introduce taxes. For instance, I introduced the energy sector levy, which is supposed to give you over 2 billion a year in order to liquidate debts that have been sitting on the books for God knows when. You are in opposition. You describe me as incompetent. Make a promise to the people of Ghana that vote for me. When I come to power, I will, with immediate effect, and I can give you the quotes, remove these taxes. I have the brain power to deal with the economy without those taxes. And so based on that, amongst others, I lose elections. You come to power, and your excuse is that it's the NDC that introduced it. And so that is it. That is most insincere. You've not been fair to the people of Ghana. That is not what you promised the people of Ghana. So when COPEC tells you that, look, you promised us that you abolish these taxes, and so do that for us.
At least they did something
Where?
about it. They have
saying-
reduced it by 2.5. When the calls, were in the peak, asking you to reduce, you never did.
We
did
said we
anything
needed
about it.
revenue. We were sincere with the people of Ghana. We said, look, we understand that it increases your price, but we need it for a purpose. You say you abolish it.
Where?
I can give you the quote. If you challenge me, they just read the vice president when Boache Jaku said he would scrap the energy sector levy.
Please,
It was
where?
raised in parliament.
I think
Please,
that
can I make my
give me
point? I
source.
think the people of
When
Ghana.
I spoke, you asked me for a source.
Don't
I
worry,
told
I'll
you,
quote the
please
source for you,
your-
my brother. Don't worry.
Because
I'll quote
what
it
we
for you.
say is in our manifesto.
Now let's come to even the price buildup. When the price was 30, now there are two scenarios. The revenues that we get from our petroleum products has a direct positive, strong positive correlation with the world market price. So when the prices come down to 30, it means that revenues that we're expecting from fuel imports go down drastically. It also means that revenues that we're expecting from our liftings goes down drastically. And so if you look at the 2016 and 2017 budgets, our growth rate of 3.6 was mainly attributable to a huge drop in the petroleum sector. Now you come to power. After criticizing us and saying we are insensitive, the petroleum prices goes to above 60. So you are having a positive correlation, as I said. So your revenues triples from the liftings that we have. So government is having a huge windfall, 69% increment. In terms of revenue itself, in terms of activities on the petroleum sector, 69 increment. In terms of revenues, you have a price increase, and you have a volume increase. That leads to you getting about 1.5 billion against 670 million during our time. And then the taxes on our imports, which is ad valorem, you maintain it at 15%. And don't forget that 15% slaps on the ex-refinery. So anytime the ex-refinery goes up, it means that the taxes you are paying also goes up because it's a percentage. And consumers are saying that, look, we are suffering. If you do cross-subsidization, you can use the revenues that you are making, the huge windfalls, because now you have the 10 fields, now you have the Sankofa Jinyame fields coming to be in addition with the Jubilee fields. And so your receipts are increasing astronomically. And so it only makes sense that a really good listening government will use part of the windfall from here to cushion the people of Ghana. You are not doing that, and you blame us. Now let's come to the price stabilization levy. I have the MPA Act, Act 691 of 2005, and I have the Energy Sector Levies Act 899 of 2015, as amended under Act 946 of 2017. I am in favor of any increment, Hassan, and let's get that right. I didn't say don't reduce any reduction in taxes. I just said that do what is proper. Because the Constitution says, under Article 174, that where an act, in accordance with Clause 1, that's after Parliament has imposed the tax, of this article confers power on any person or authority to waive or vary a tax imposed by the act, you need parliamentary approval. So when you come and we pass an act putting levies on products, 10 pesos, 12 pesos, and 8 pesos, before you vary that, come to Parliament. That's all I said. I'm saying that you can't sit on your own and decide that the tax that Parliament is imposed, you are varying it. It's a legal issue that I raised. I'm saying if you want to vary, even the 15% special, if you want to take it off, come. When you wanted to deal with the street light levy, you came to Parliament. So if you want to deal with the price stabilization levy, comes to Parliament, because the act enjoins the minister that within 3 months, and the minister here refers to the Minister of Finance and not the Minister of Energy. If you go to the interpretation, Section 8, it tells you there's the minister. MPA is only a collecting agency. Just like ECG is a collecting agency on the street light and the other things. ECG cannot sit and say that because they are a collecting agency, they want to vary the taxes. They don't have that power. So all I said is the MPA, when you collect it, within 15 days, according to the Act, you must lodge that money in an account established by the Minister of Finance. And when the prices fluctuate, the Minister of Finance then use those monies accruing to cushion the people of Ghana, as well as to deal with subsidies on the fuel we give to the fishermen. What's the name? Premix fuel, and the other fuel. There's another fuel. It has RFO. That is what you use the price stabilization for. So we're only cautioning you, because the minister will come before us this year and account for the receipts. If you look at here, for instance, it tells us the price stabilization levy, they programmed to collect 396 million. Actual collection was 338 million. Lodgement was 326 million. You must lodge it. You cannot sit and vary. So these are legitimate issues that we are raising, and I think that you people should take that on board. But the bottom line for me is the consumer, is the voter who woke up on the 7th of December, queued and voted for you, expecting that you honor your promise. That is what the voter is asking you. It's not me. I'm no more in government.
Thank you.
You must answer that question.
Thank you. You wait. I'll let you do some reaction. Let's hear what Kweku has to say about these, protests and demands on the government. Are they fair? Given that we clearly have seen that the government has done something about what it is capable of doing something about, the tax regime, except that they say this is not enough. Dr. Charles Rekubrobe agrees with them that this thing ought to be removed.
Well, I am a political animal, not a politician. And I understand where my brother John was coming from. And it's been so consistently. When I listen to him, I realize that he's linking everything to the outcome of the last elections.
Right.
And he thinks that some consistency is missing in action. That's what he thinks. They are very, people are always recollect. And they said it's okay. When Kwekubako does recollection, they said that's equalization. Don't do it.
But that's a fair comment he has made.
It's a fair comment.
Right.
It's a factual comment.
Correct.
And it is a recycled one. That's the point I'm making. That all of them have been part of that particular game. All of them. People promised to reduce fuel prices drastically, and it didn't happen. A small reduction was put somewhere in the corner, and they left it there.
They are the same people who say don't do politics with
Yes.
fuel prices.
All of us have been part of that politicization over the years. Not that everything that was said was wrong as such. Few things were valid and could have been done, but governments ignored them. Okay? So let everybody listen. We all are entitled to do recollection of history. Only that it must be relevant and must impact on the discussion in such a way that can make us do meaningful and informed debate. Listen, the street protests, as we all know, and I'm sure there's not a person on this table who will say it was illegitimate. It's allowed by the Constitution. And really, having been a professional demonstrator all my life, I'm on retirement though, there is no way I will sit here and attack the principle of demonstration and those who embarked on that exercise. And indeed, numbers don't count here. Sometimes people make a mistake and reduce the things to numbers. No. Out there are people protesting. The media is picking it up, spreading it beyond the numbers that came on the street, beyond those that were watching. So you don't underestimate the potency of that, especially when it becomes routine. And then answers to are not coming, or solutions are not coming to their satisfaction. It has the effect of snowballing. It could have a domino effect. So again, let nobody over-focus on the numbers that showed up. I know a lot of people who are in economically good positions, but they are also complaining at the fuel, the level of prices. I give my driver money to buy fuel, but I really don't even understand the economics there. I don't feel it, I have to be honest, but he keeps on asking and I give to him. He hasn't complained to me, but I'm listening to others. Not all of them are anti-government. Let's be honest. And not all of them are economically emasculated, but they are complaining. So my attitude is that government ought to set up, the appropriate authorities ought to set up, show a little bit more sensitivity to those that are making the noise, quote unquote, and see how best to meet them halfway.
You're saying it is wrong for government communicators to brand such protesters as, party people, opposition people?
Yeah, it's outdated.
Okay.
It doesn't help anybody. Not that it hasn't been done before,
all right,
but I'm saying that it is an outdated approach. And it doesn't help you to develop the capacity to deal with the issue the way it is. I'm happy my brother is here, Hassan. He offers him the opportunity to deal with the issues, and this is a huge platform. So he demystifies the issues, and then we all move forward. Look, it's taken us a long time, and again, I didn't bother to bring documentation on this matter.
Okay.
Because look, we are fatigued. We've done it over and over again. 2000 and November, President Rawlings publicly, it was on the front page of Daily Graphic, where he said, look, now let's stop. It's about time we depoliticize and demystify fuel pricing. And it's about time we allow the prices to find their level in terms of deregulation and all that. And the processes had begun quietly from there. You remember there were days that when we were reading the budget, the fuel prices would be included.
Yes.
It was decided to decouple. It was all part of the exercise to let people focus on an area that was not entirely within the control of the nation. But despite all this, the politicization has continued, and it's reflected in John's sentiments that you did it to us and you won the election. So for sure, he's also ready, because he's a politician, to do it to you, and hopefully hoping that they may win the election. I'm wrong. I misinterpreted you.
Yes.
I hear you.
Unlikely events.
I will wait for your clarification. But that's the way I understood it.
Yes.
To be honest, that's the way I understood it. That is tit for tat. And I cannot stop those who want to pursue that path. But I can predict that in the most unlikely situation of they winning, they will be confronted with the same challenge. Yes. Of making promises to do this or that and not being able to do it because perhaps reality check has come in. I will appeal to government. I think that those out there are not just talking by heart. I think that they are feeling something. There's a pinch out there they are feeling.
Because as we know, fuel prices affect everything else in this country.
So I want to be
realistic. It changes the size of your ball of kinky.
I want to be realistic about that, very pragmatic about it, very, very open about it. The most important thing is that government has the capacity and must have the willingness to meet those people halfway and deal with the issues by bringing solutions on board. I am not competent to bring the solutions. I understand the thing about price build-up. I understand that there are certain areas government can touch, and we are told that they've touched some areas. It appears it's not sufficient.
Right.
And people want more. Let's interrogate those areas and deal with them if we can.
Well, the NPA CEO tells us that we should just watch out in the coming days. Something might happen.
Let's see what happens.
Right. Now, let's hear from Muntaka. What do you say? Is it not possible to take away the politics, look at the figures and speak to them and say that the same reason that when, you know, the price of a barrel of crude, you know, went up or came down and you introduced the special levy, and then when it went to a point at 50 or so that you could now remove it, you still maintain that you didn't have to remove it because you needed to resolve some matters. Should this government also not be giving the same, you know, respite?
No. Let me just speak from where Senior Kokubako's ended. I've always heard him say that we are doing our politics as if it's a football. So you score, I have to also start to score, and then it's like a tit for tat. I'm just starting from the MPP manifesto, page 12, where they said teachers are suffering, teacher trainees are suffering, nurses are suffering. It went on and on and on, and finally ended with Ghanaians are suffering. So my thinking is that everything, because of the suffering, people voted them into power. Everything that they want to do, they want to use suffering as the benchmark. Will people suffer if we do this? Because you said people were suffering. So everything you have to do, that should be your benchmark. Would this lead to people suffering?
He says they have reduced the suffering by ensuring stability of the cedi.
No.
Otherwise, the prices would have been worse.
No.
They have actually scrapped.
He said it's largely stable.
They have scrapped a levy, and then they have gone ahead to reduce this levy from 17.5 to 15%.
With a greater respect, if in Parliament you want to remove people, you don't go removing the ushers that are showing people where to sit. If you really want people to know you've moved somebody, you need to get the like of John removed. Then they say, oh, they removed the MP for Yape Kushogu. But if you're going to remove an usher, what have you done? You say you are going to give somebody an assistant. He comes, he wants to be able to travel to Tamale. You say that, oh, I'm helping you with a fare that will take you to Circle. What has that done? Because look, they built up, when they came to Parliament and were doing this, some of us had always been consistent. If you go and check the Hansard in the House, when Setekwe brought this, That time he was not a member of parliament. I think I was one of the biggest hurdle they had to jump, if you remember, John.
Yep.
I fought and said that no way, but obviously, look, our expectation from the oil revenue has gone so down from when we started $90 and now it's at $28. So one, our expectation from our own Jubilee field is so down that the revenue expectation are not being met. That is one. Two, this one, there's a complete windfall for the ordinary taxpayer. If we have to go by all the measurements, that means the price of the S-pump should go drastically down. Now, if it goes down and we give it to the average Ghanaian, as against using it to support the development that we are carrying on, we think it will be better. So it was introduced with the clear explanation. And it was, if you go to the Hansard of the House, it's there. When prices go up, we will have dual advantage. The advantage we are going to have is that our own fields are going to give us higher revenue. Now we are very hopeful by the close of this 2016, we are going to have 2 additional wells coming up on stream. So it's going to give us additional volume. When we have this additional volume with additional revenue as a result of price going up, we should be able to use it to cushion. So for me, I'm saying that those who have provided, what do you call it, were singing suffering for everybody, will do this simple arithmetic. Let me use 100, because that's when you use the percentages, people appreciate. Something is costing 100 cedis, and your taxes and everything is bringing it, you say 20%. So 20% of 100 is 20. Now, when the whole thing moves to 200, that 20% does not give you 20 again. It gives you 40. You see, so you are galloping as the prices are going up. If you were mindful, if you were very mindful, you will have said the levy will be maybe 10 pesos, just as we've done with some of the other levies. You just say it's 10 pesos. So regardless of how much the price goes up, it still remains as 10 pesos. But you have chosen to use a percentage, which you criticize. When I say you, I mean you, because you have the opportunity for the past 13 months to do what you promised the people by scrapping all the things, because you call them nuisance tax. So they are no longer there on our back. They are there on your back because you have the majority in the House. You have been in the House to reduce it by 2.5 instead of removing everything. So it is you who is doing it, because if you wanted to remove it, you could have removed it in February. Just as you rushed some of the acts because you wanted to remove some officers in their office, you were able to do it within a day. And the certificate of urgency, you got your committee chairpersons to declare it as urgent, and you ran it, specifically local government, you ran it through within 1 day so that you can sack all government appointees. So you can use the same speed to remove all these laws without anybody stopping you. So don't say that we started it. You are now running it. And we are saying that, look, because we now have volumes, because of Sankofa and the Chainfield and the Jubilee, now we are now having huge volumes. With this increase, you yourself have budgeted that, oh, we expect the price of petroleum over the year to be around 57. You've not even finished the first quarter. The thing has crossed 60. So if you were mindful of the suffering of the people, what you simply do is that, oh, no. The 57 that we're expecting, in the budget, we're expecting, say, 100 million. Now, with this over 60 price, already it's going to give us, if we keep it, it is going to give us, say, $150 million. So why are we not going to use the 50 million, since our expectation in the budget is 100 million, to use the 50 million to support the suffering, so that we avoid the suffering? Now you didn't do that. You are keeping that one. Ghanaians are not complaining. Now the taxes that is also suffocating, and now is compound, because originally the 15 and other percentages, put all of them together, like I said, hypothetically, 20 cities. Now you are gaining 40 again. So the one who is mindful of suffering will have run to Parliament to say, oh, even if I will not do anything, I'll make sure that I'll maintain the 20, so that the other 20 will go as a relief to reduce the suffering. So you are not doing all this, and then you are saying that, oh, you reduce it by 2.5%. 2.5%. Has that had any significant, effect on the price? Because as of January, when you took over, a gallon, that's why I was saying that don't be talking about liters, because you and I understand that. The ordinary person understands it in gallons. In gallon, it was 14 cedis.
It wasn't.
But do the calculation.
15.904.
I said do the calculation.
That's what I'm saying, 15.904, almost 16 cedis.
And now how much
it is 18 cedis.
How can you say that?
But the price is here.
No, which price are you using?
But I'm using
Go
it
to the
today.
pump
That's the
and
pump price I'm giving to you.
That is what you are saying.
I'm giving you the price of the pump.
Remember that you don't determine how people... No, you don't determine how much they sell it.
No, we determine.
No, you don't. After determining all the factors, the oil marketing companies determine that in their case, I will do it at
precisely
either reducing it or
this one
it up. So today it is 20. It is 22.
It is not 22
per gallon.
It is not.
It's interesting. Those who are listening to you,
it is not.
Are those who are the same, because
it is not.
Probably they will assume that you and I don't buy. I do. Just 2 days ago, my Lakusa, every week I try to fill 400. It got full. I got to a filling station. I remember, if the person is listening, you remember, I said, fill the tank. Then I was on the phone. When I raised my head, the guy was almost 480. I said, hey, stop at 500. Because I knew that 400 will fill it. Now I'm 480, the thing is not full. Okay. So I had to stop at 500. Okay. So even like Mr. Kokobako said, even those that you may think have economic muscles are feeling the pain. So don't trivialize it by ridiculing the common sense of the ordinary Ghanaian. That, oh, it is abysmal. Do what is right.
Okay. So, truth. The example he just gave, very funny. Yesterday, okay, that was the start of the week. Yesterday, I pulled up at the pump and I asked the guy to top up by 150 Ghana cedis. Now, there was a place I expected my gauge to be. I moved without thinking. Then I got somewhere and I said, he must have cheated me. I almost felt like going back and asking him what exactly had happened.
That would likely be the case.
You know?
Yeah. That most likely would have been the case.
Then I remembered that there has been, some hike. So what are you saying? You have a number of things you need to canvas back as a reaction to Jinapo and also what Muntaka Mubarak has said.
So I think that, first of all, I want to apologize on behalf of my brothers here to the Ghanaian people for the pain that they have caused the Ghanaian people in the past.
You should be apologizing for yourself.
When we started receiving proceeds from upstream, that's when they should have just removed everything in the downstream prices. They should have removed all the taxes, because you weren't expecting anything from upstream. It is during your time that we started receiving proceeds from our oil fields. If you were minded to cushion Ghanaians,
I'm sure we have gone beyond that point.
He
was referring to the specific heads of the tax component, and he wanted to make a reaction.
I think that, and then secondly, proceeds from upstream petroleum production goes or is managed under the Petroleum Revenue Management Act. You have the Heritage Fund, you have the Stabilization Fund. We do not have access to the Heritage Fund because it is an amount that is saved for future generations. Now, the Stabilization Fund is supposed to take care of any shocks in the economy when a need arises. So the level with which you can play with monies in the downstream is not the same as you can play with upstream revenue. You get it? Heritage Fund, you can't immediately go and dip your hand in it and then take it and say, I'm going to do ABC.
I'm talking of ESLA.
Now, number two.
Don't miss the two.
Number two, how much percentage do we have in terms of the proceeds from upstream? What is the percentage? What is the current shares of Ghana in all these fields? You get it? So if it was that easy for you to have just removed all the taxes in the price build-up, you should have done it when we started receiving proceeds, because you have never had it before. You should have just said that, look, every tax downstream should go so that we can use the upstream to fill it. Number two, You see, my brother John was going through the price build-up.
Right.
And I think that we have to recognize that energy debt recovery levy is what has been ring-fenced for the ESLA bond to pay for all the debts that they caused the nation.
Who?
For instance.
You do know
that
what
was caused by previous governments.
Previous
But you
governments.
see, you refused to pay for a long time. That crippled the nation. In 2015, there was shortages because you refused to pay the BDCs. It crippled the economy. We haven't had such shortages since we came to power. Why? Because we pay in good time when we have to. Do you get it? So you refuse to pay, but we have cleared all your debts. That
you have
refuse to
cleared
pay.
all the debts.
By the ESLA bond.
How much
That's
have you
number
raised?
2.
Then what is the debt?
Number 3, but you should allow me to flow. Road fund levy. Road fund levy, Samson. Road fund levy has been in the price build-up for decades. That is what we use to maintain and construct our roads. Is he saying now we should stop charging the road fund levy? That cannot be. Energy fund levy, that's about 1 peso. It's used to taking care of other electricity-related activities. Price stabilization and recovery levy.
Now, I'm sure the focus has been on the special petroleum tax.
No, but he
why is it impossible to remove that?
Yes. You see, they talked about revenue for the government at the time that it was introduced.
Right.
Now, it is part of the revenue that we anticipate in the 2018 budget, for instance. So are they saying, for instance, that the money that we'll use for free SHS, for restoration of teachers' allowance, for restoration of nurses' allowance, for paying over 500 million of the National Health Insurance scheme, arrears, for planting for food, we should remove everything. Is that what they are saying? You know, there is a lot of mischief in what they are doing here. This is my brother, this is my big brother, and my younger brother. You see, they are just targeting so that they will cripple us, so that we are not able to meet our objectives. But you see, John made a point, and he said that the price stabilization and recovery levy, when we try to make those interventions, we should take it back to Parliament. The law does not say so. Monies in the price, and this is section 5.1, section 5.2.
Listen very attentively.
Monies in the price stabilization and recovery accounts shall be used.
Yes.
A, as a buffer for under recoveries in the petroleum sector. So when you are going to use it as a buffer, you should go to Parliament for amendment. Is that what you are saying? B, to stabilize petroleum prices for consumers. Stabilize petroleum prices for consumers. We have to take it back to Parliament for amendment before we can intervene.
Okay.
And thirdly, to subsidize premix and residual fuel oil. Are you saying that if we have to do any of these things, we have to go back to Parliament every day? That's why we said that, look, you have to read the law again.
We need to move on.
I know that
we need to move on.
We don't go back to Parliament to do any of these things.
Sorry, John, we need to move on. We need to move
1
on.
minute to correct.
No, but
so hold on.
Finish with the price build.
No, I want you to finish.
I beg you.
I want you to let him do his 1 minute. And I'm holding him to 1 minute. And then you finish with us, and we'll take a break and return to continue with the rest of the issues we have to discuss.
First of all, I'm not saying don't use money in the accounts. I'm saying that don't vary the rates. That's all I'm saying. You can go into the accounts, pick money, and subsidize.
What else?
But don't tell them that don't charge that rate.
Okay.
That's number one. Number two, he says that receipts. Something, let me just quote the budget. And I always prefer, Mr. Speaker, total receipts from 2016 recorded a negative variance of 101 million. That is the variance. Now come to 2017. Mr. Speaker, up to September, just up to September, the amount they got from their liftings. Mr. Speaker, total petroleum receipts as at September 2017 was 1.5 billion compared to 671, an increment of 97%. So what myself and Honorable Muntaka are saying is that let's take the politics out. Let's come to the real issues. You are receiving almost 100% increment in revenues upstream, which comes to the nation. So there's every call and every legitimate right to cushion them at the downstream with the taxes. That is not politics.
Okay, thank you.
We are not rented for that. We are doing proper analysis.
Thank you. Now, hold on. Let me share a couple of messages that have been brought in, so that if you have any quick things to say, comments to make about them, you do before you take leave of us. And Hassan Tampuli will leave us, and then we'll be joined by Mustafa Hamid. From Tamale Ilyasu, says that COPEC lost the debate the very moment they sought to use prices of 2016 as a basis for their call for the reduction of fuel prices. You mean the government is initiating measures at reducing prices. Example is a special petroleum tax. Okay, Sofo Yamusa in Kumbungu says that it is a fact that the increases in prices of fuel are becoming an albatross on the neck of Ghanaians. The reality, however, is that government has absorbed some shock through the implementation of the free SHS policy. Masaudu Mohammed says that it is increasingly becoming a nuisance, the desire by the NPP to attribute every single difficulty of a sort to the erstwhile NDC administration. A typical example is the recent fuel price hikes. Ghanaians voted for change, and absolute change they must get. Akwesi Obeng in Ejusu Bisiasi says that, John Jinapo, we told NDC government to reduce fuel prices during your era. When crude oil prices came down, it came down to $28 per barrel. So don't just say we should reduce fuel price without looking at the current price of crude oil. So the good news is that you have suggested that something is likely to happen. Are you not able to give us some clearer indication?
That is not even their job under the
some
Act.
clearer indication of what might happen.
But you see, I think that you missed the point. When the price reduces, it is passed on to the consumer. So if you say that's not our job, we should not let consumers have the benefit of the reduction. Is that what you're saying?
Okay, so
I'm
finish
saying,
up.
for instance,
Don't be referring.
It doesn't come to you.
Don't be asking him questions. He replies back.
As at yesterday, is what the international prices have reduced for petrol.
Okay.
Diesel has reduced by 3.83%, and LPG has reduced by 9.95%. By Thursday, that is the last day of this pricing window, we would have been able to see what more decline would accrue to the benefit of Ghanaian people. And that one will be passed on to the consumer at the pump.
Oh, okay. So
now,
that's all you mean by something will happen in the coming days.
That is the first one. That one is determined by the forces of demand and supply. Sure. And the second one, like I said, is what we do with the special petroleum tax, where we place it even in the price buildup. You can move it from one place and put it in another place, and its impact on the price will be different.
Don't go and amend it on your own.
Please, let me learn. You can make it a specific tax, and the objectives that we seek to gain from the budget will still be met.
Okay.
But let me just complete with the. I think it's very important.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead and finish that.
I think I'll just complete it.
You take leave of us after that.
Yeah.
We need to move on to the
We have
issues.
what we call the primary distribution margin. Now, primary distribution margin is in the price builder for one reason. When we bring in the products to the coastal depots, we move them to the inland depots, Kumasi, Bupe, and Boga, for instance. Now, the movement, the transportation costs is borne by this primary distribution margin, so that you and I, where we come from, does not disadvantage us, because if you put it, for instance, in you compare it to cement.
Over that.
You compare it but you see, when you start mentioning that there are taxes, these things are what you call the taxes. No. And I'm saying, for instance, that this thing is what is used to take care of the freight costs.
I didn't say that.
Of movement from the coastal depot to the inland
public
depots.
will remind you that
whilst
in opposition,
the
NPP was listing these things over and again.
Don't misquote me.
It kept listing them and emphasizing that these contributed to the high prices in fuel.
Isn't the fund levy a tax?
Like I said, we are a listening government. We won't behave like them. We will do something about it, just like we have done in the past. When the finance minister read the 2017 budget in March, you saw at least some 3% reduction in the price. When we zeroed the price stabilization and recovery levy as well, we had additional 3%. So, but for these two interventions, we would have been paying about 6%. The cumulative effects has to be made known to my brothers.
That is your challenge. You are not supposed to do politics. Go and do your regulatory work and leave us the politicians to discuss the politics of it.
But I'm a child of politics.
Go and read your art.
I'm
Go and read your art.
born out of politics. I'm born out of politics.
You're supposed to be independent.
But when it comes to talking about MPA proper, we'll talk. But sometimes I have to recognize where I come from.
Right.
Of course, I have to recognize where I come from. So like I said, we have a commitment to the Ghanaian people to make the necessary intervention that they have refused to do in the past. They have never for once even used the price stabilization levy to do anything to cushion the Ghanaian people.
That is false.
Except to use it to pay under recoveries for a premix.
That is false.
We have zeroed it. You see, when you say we should take it to Parliament, what we are saying that the money that should go into the accounts don't pay. It's the same. We are giving effect to this.
Okay. All right.
So that we are able to deal with this situation.
Thank you very much.
Doing our very best.
Okay, so Alhassan Tampuli is the CEO of the National Petroleum Authority. Thank you very much for making time to come. We will take a break here. And when we return, there are a number of issues we're going to look at. Of course, we will ask questions about what exactly are the savings that the government says it has made on the presidential fleet that was ordered by the NDC government, and the government initially, when they took over office, appeared to be against it and somehow have been able to renegotiate the terms of that contract. The vehicles are in the country now. What are the savings? They should let us know. And again, the president delivered his State of the Nation address, a number of very topical issues in there, including the fact that he inherited an economy that had been driven deep down a pit. We'll be right back.